People think crying at a movie is a sign of being overly emotional. Psychology says it's the exact opposite. That tear rolling down your cheek in a dark theater isn't weakness leaving the body. It's evidence of something your brain is doing that most human minds simply cannot. Here's what's really happening when fiction moves you to tears, and why it might mean you're wired for a kind of emotional depth that most people spend their entire lives trying to reach. Think about the last time you felt that familiar sting behind your eyes during a film. Maybe it was a character losing someone they loved. Maybe it was a reunion after years apart. Maybe it was just a moment of unexpected kindness that hit you right in the chest. And then, almost immediately, you felt it, that tiny wave of embarrassment. The quick glance around to see if anyone noticed. The subtle attempt to blink the tears away before they could escape. You've been taught, probably for as long as you can remember, that crying in public, even in the safety of a movie theater, is something to hide, something to apologize for, something that reveals a crack in your emotional armor. But here's what psychology has quietly uncovered. Dr. Elaine Aron, one of the leading researchers in the field of human sensitivity, coined a term that changed how we understand people who cry easily. She calls them highly sensitive persons, a measurable neurological trait found in roughly 15 to 20% of the population. These aren't people who are fragile. These aren't people who lack resilience. These are people whose nervous systems are literally wired to process emotional and sensory information at a higher resolution than everyone else. Neuroimaging research shows that highly sensitive individuals demonstrate significantly stronger activation in brain regions associated with awareness, empathy, and emotional processing, particularly the insular and the mirror neuron system. Their brains don't misfire when they watch a sad movie. Their brains fire more completely. When you cry at a film, you're not overreacting to something fake. You're accurately responding to something real that most people in the room haven't fully registered yet. Think about the last time you watched a movie with someone who sat completely dry-eyed while you were reaching for tissues. Did you wonder what was wrong with you? Here's what was actually happening. Your brain was processing the emotional content of that scene at a level of detail that their brain simply wasn't accessing. It's like the difference between watching a standard definition video and seeing it in 4K. Both screens show the same image, but one reveals textures, shadows, and subtleties that the other renders invisible. That's what happens when you cry at fiction. Your emotional nervous system is running at a higher resolution. You're not feeling more than other people. You're feeling more of what's actually there. And the reason you cry isn't because you can't handle it. It's because you can. Those tears aren't just about sadness. They're about connection. When you watch a character experience pain on screen, something remarkable happens inside your brain. Your mirror neuron system, the neural network responsible for empathy and social understanding, activates as if you were experiencing that pain yourself. Not metaphorically, neurologically. Your brain simulates their emotional state inside your own nervous system. That's why your chest tightens when a character's heart breaks. That's why your throat closes when they lose someone. You're not just watching pain, you're feeling a version of it. And people who cry easily have mirror neuron systems that are particularly responsive. They don't just understand what a character is going through, they momentarily live inside it. This is not a weakness. This is your brain doing exactly what it evolved to do. Connect you to the experience of another human being, even a fictional one. But here's where it gets interesting. People who cry easily don't just feel emotions more intensely, they feel them for longer. This is called emotional rumination, the mind's tendency to replay and process emotional experiences long after they've ended. You leave the theater still carrying the weight of what you just watched. You think about it on the drive home. You lie awake, turning it over in your mind. You find yourself revisiting the emotional beats days later, and most people misunderstand this completely. They think you're dwelling. They think you can't let go. But what's actually happening is something more demanding than simple letting go. You're integrating. You're making meaning. You're allowing the emotional experience to fully land and find its place inside your understanding of the world. This is why people who cry easily often arrive at insights about human experience that others completely miss. They didn't just watch the movie, they lived inside its emotional architecture long enough to see its full shape. Here's something most people don't know. Emotional tears contain measurably different chemical compositions than the tears that keep your eyes lubricated. They carry elevated levels of stress hormones, including cortisol and adrenocorticotropic hormone. In other words, when you cry at a movie, your body may be physically expelling the biochemical residue of emotional stress. This is why, after a genuine cry, you often feel a distinct shift, a sense of release, of pressure lifted, of something settling that had been wound tight. The nervous system is completing a cycle it needed to finish. For people who cry easily, this process is more frequent and potentially more necessary. Their systems accumulate emotional load faster. The release valve gets triggered more often, not as a sign of instability, but as a form of maintenance. Think of it this way. A pressure cooker with a properly functioning release valve is safer than one sealed shut. The person who cries when they need to isn't breaking down. They're regulating. There's a direct connection between crying at fiction and something else that's quietly powerful. People who cry at movies tend to be better at reading real-world pain in others. They pick up on the slight tension in someone's voice, the forced smile that doesn't reach the eyes, the moment a room shifts in energy before anyone else feels it. They read emotional subtext the way others read words on a page, automatically, involuntarily, constantly. This isn't just empathy, it's emotional intelligence in its most active form. They aren't waiting for someone to tell them something is wrong, they've already registered it. They often know what someone is feeling before that person knows how to express it themselves. That's why people who cry easily often find themselves in the role of the listener, the confidant, the one people turn to when they're hurting. Not because they asked for that role, because their emotional systems naturally make them safe for others to be vulnerable around. But here's the part that almost never gets discussed. People who cry easily spend enormous amounts of energy hiding it. They've learned, often from childhood, that their emotional responses are something to be managed, suppressed, and apologized for. They've been told they're too sensitive, too much, too emotional. So they learn to mask, to control, to present a version of themselves that doesn't leak. And that masking takes a toll. It creates a quiet loneliness that most people never see. The loneliness of feeling everything while pretending to feel nothing. Of caring deeply while performing indifference. Of knowing exactly what you're feeling and knowing exactly why you can't show it. This is why people who cry easily often carry a particular kind of exhaustion. It's not just the feeling itself that drains them. It's the constant work of not feeling it where anyone can see. This brings us to the reframe. What if sensitivity isn't excess emotion at all? What if it's emotional precision? Think about what precision means in any other domain. A scale that registers tiny weight differences isn't broken, it's more accurate. A microphone that picks up subtleties in sound isn't flawed, it's more sensitive. The person who cries easily isn't feeling too much. They're accurately registering what's there. The reason fiction moves them isn't because they're projecting, it's because they're perceiving, with a level of detail that most emotional instruments simply can't detect. They feel the full weight of a moment because they can sense its entire composition. And that ability, that resolution, that sensitivity, it doesn't just apply to movies, it applies to everything they experience. The beauty in a sunset, the depth in a piece of music, the quiet ache in a stranger's voice. They don't cry because they're fragile. They cry because they're fully awake to what's happening around them. Crying at movies doesn't mean you're fragile. It means your emotional nervous system is running at full sensitivity. And full sensitivity cuts both ways. The same system that makes you feel fictional pain so completely also makes you feel the world's beauty more thoroughly. The same capacity that brings you to tears in a dark theater also makes you a person who genuinely sees others, who notices when they're struggling, who feels their joy and sorrow as if it were your own. It's not too much emotion. It's accurate emotion. It's the difference between hearing music and feeling it, between watching life and living inside it. And what most people have been told is a weakness, that thing they've been hiding, apologizing for, trying to control, might actually be one of the rarest and most valuable capacities the human mind can possess. So the next time you feel that familiar sting behind your eyes during a movie, pause before you push it down, before you blink it away, before you feel embarrassed for caring about something that isn't even real. Because here's what's actually happening. Something in that scene, in that story, in that moment of fictional pain is connecting with something real inside you. Something alive. Something that hasn't been numbed out or armored over. Something that still feels, even when it's easier not to. That's not weakness. That's your emotional system doing what it was built to do. And the people who can still be moved by fiction, who still allow themselves to feel the weight of a story, who still cry when something beautiful or tragic happens on screen, those people haven't lost their ability to feel. They've kept it intact. In a world that's constantly teaching you to shut down, to guard, to perform indifference, your tears are evidence that you're still genuinely here. If this gave you a new way to see yourself, subscribe for more of this, and drop a comment. Do you think crying easily is weakness or hidden strength?